All right, Aisha, welcome.
Thank
Um, I want to start as I am with everybody I'm doing these interviews with. A very large congratulations to you
you.
for achieving both the expert levels and for being one of our top 100 engineers.
Thank
That's no small feat in itself because we have a lot of really good engineers in the company. And then taking on looking at both of these exams all in a short period of time while you're out there running, some of our largest customers and doing what they do. Um, that's also deserves a congratulations because that's no small feat. Some people are going to spend 6 months to a year prepping for this thing, and I didn't quite give you guys as much time. So again, big congratulations on that.
Thanks, Terry. Yeah.
Well, I thought I would start with just a little bit of telling your story. Who are you? What have you done in your career? Where have you been? When did you start at Arista? Give me the breakdown. Let everybody know because they're all watching you, thinking, "Am I as smart as her? Can I do this?" So let's let them
Yeah.
see that you're just another human being, just like I am.
Yeah. Sure. So I started my career with Arista. In fact, I also interned at Arista. I started with a support role. I was in the customer engineering team, and then I moved on to professional services after 3 years and started to learn about how to design people's network. This was it's been i- it's been 9 years now at Arista, and
Wow.
yeah, my experience has been mostly Arista. Of course, I worked with Cisco and Juniper in my college days, and while I debug customers' network, I've dealt with other vendors. But yeah, I have loved my journey here, and I'm still here. So definitely, that does show that I've enjoyed this part.
So straight out of college, in as an intern, on with TAC pretty
Yeah.
early on, and then on to professional services. So right away, it was kind of in feet into the fire type idea.
Yes, yes, and being the way our track was structured, and it's still structured that way, that it's a flat system. We don't have like uh, you know different teams for say Wi-Fi or different teams for BGP or L1 or L2. It's all one big group. So you had to kind of pick up on anything that comes your way. There was nothing that you only cater to. It's not like you're an STP expert or you're a multicast expert. You got to know everything. But we had a lot of mentorship, great team here, and we would always kind of huddle up when a call comes in to help out the new joinees. So the culture has been, very helpful to just, I guess, you just go out there and just deal with whatever problem comes your way, and there's everyone helping you around.
Right, and and it's a lot of people. We do a lot of, I guess, marketing, you could say, on this, or a lot of our collateral. We talk about TAC and how our TAC works, and the fact that we pick up a call, and the engineer that picks up the call is going to carry that call through. Of course, they may bring in more help and things like this, but
Yeah.
not a tiered system, not a handoff thing. It's
Yeah.
everybody's got to be able to pick it up and start troubleshooting the problem and start getting to it right away. We don't want to waste time, and
Yeah.
that's a pretty intimidating world to walk into right out of as an intern.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
We take few months and start with email problems, take up tickets from the emails, and then later on we shadow, and then we later on start taking the calls on our own. And then weekend window is another thing because you're just few people on the rotation. So once you're comfortable with any kind of problem your way, and then you start doing the weekend rotation, that look, now you're ready.
So you did that for a while, and what talk me through like the change of going from TAC to PS. Was that something that people saw that in the company and were like, "Ooh, we think you'd be good at this"? Was that something that you drove, you kind of wanted to do, to jump teams like that? Like, what was the
Yeah.
story behind that?
Yeah, I think after a couple of years in tech, I realized how I think it was mostly a fixing broken things. And then at some point, I felt like, okay, how about we just switch the role and instead be at a place where problems do not arrive at the first place. Of course, there are going to be bugs and all, but at least making sure that the network is designed in a way which gives you less, which makes it less prone to errors, or gives you more details about where there could be problems. How do you operate that network efficiently so you catch these problems early without causing outages? How can you be more redundant, more resilient? And I kind of have seen enough broken things which made me move into that area that, okay, now I want to build a network that's better to operate. I, and at the same time, we were going into the services direction. Arista was bringing up that kind of service to the customers, and I just wanted to switch at that point, and I felt I'm ready for that
Right.
change. Yeah.
Well, how did that? So when you were working on tack cases, you're sitting down with somebody. Talk a little bit about how you guys approach that. How do you approach the people on the other end of the
Yeah.
call? Like, what does that look like? How do we do it at tack?
Yeah, one of the things that my manager used to tell me, and that really stuck with me, that do not think that you and the customer are on the different sides of the table. Think about you being beside them and troubleshooting the problem with them instead of for them. That's the attitude difference that really makes a difference. That we're not here to try and find, trying to find the blame, that okay, it's because of the config errors you did, or it's because of this bug or that bug, but it's more about, let's just sit together, look into this, and solve the problems. And one of the things that we usually do in TAC is we immediately jump onto the problem, get on a screen share session, and just start looking into it instead of waiting on sending files over here and there and trying to figure that out. It's just faster. You just get on a call. That's the approach TAC has always taken, and then they still take, to just get to the solution quickly instead of going through the process and the documentation, and let this
Right.
get the
Time is
problem
money.
solved and then figure out the rest.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Time is money, and I don't know. I've taught troubleshooting for years and years at high levels, and I always love going back and saying, people that have gotten towards the expert level, you get so much more, you get so much dumber the more you know. Like way back early on, all you knew how to do was shake the cable and maybe smile at it, or whatever you're going to do. You only knew so much, and that's, I always laughed at guys coming in saying, well, those are still probably 80% of the problems that we have. It's probably still a loose cable, it's a loose optic, or it's loose this, but now 50,000 commands, so you just want to start typing commands right away, and you don't go look at the normal things. And so I've always looked at troubleshooting as, is their design broke, or is it just incomplete? Are we really getting on to just help them complete the design that they didn't do? And as we set out to do this program, and the whole ACE program in general, it's how do you solve that problem? I mean, my goal in training is to keep people from calling TAC, because they don't need to, because they know more. They finished those designs the right way. They've got it the right way. Because yes, we do, you're not going to have software without a bug. You're going to have a bug every so often, but realistically speaking, we don't have that many bugs, right? So a lot of our calls are just, it's designs that aren't complete. Maybe they're not wrong. They're just not complete. Somebody didn't know enough to do it all the way the right way. And that is definitely a solvable problem. I mean, that's something that we have less TAC cases. Customers need to spend less time on that. They can spend more time on other things. And, and the education happens a lot of different ways, whether it's sitting side by side like that. I think that's a beautiful story, to just sit there with them and let's go through the journey together. And, so what did you think about doing this? So 9 years, this is, you've kind of run the gamut. You're out there recommending designs, and I know we've done a lot of stuff together over the last couple of years. I've been here for 5, so I know you're plugged into some of our very largest customers. So these designs aren't simple; these are not things that are just run of the mill. How did we do on L6 from a design and architecture point of view? How do you feel like that?
I
Since that's your kind of your
Yes,
specialty, I'll
I
spend some
loved
time
it.
talking on that.
Yeah, yeah. L6, it reminds me of my college days, how we had our exams back then, where you have to take up the role of everything from gathering the requirements, pitching in the hardware, pitching in the design. How do you operate this network? How do you implement in the most efficient way? So it covers the whole thing, it makes it prepares you for an entire cycle of a transition of a network, moving on to a next gen of the data center, or whether it's the CDNs or anything, or campus. It prepares you from start to end of the entire journey, and that really prepares you for to take up any kind of, it covers everything. It covers campus, it covers data centers, it gives you an entire experience that it would have taken you as an employee, probably, for going through different projects over months and months of different projects. And this one gives you everything in one, and it's great.
which is how we
It's
get it as
pretty
well,
much what
right?
we do. It's pretty much
Right.
what we do as a professional services engineer in one exam. So
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're shooting for. Is it's we didn't really set out to make good exams. Um, when I started this, and I remember looking at my team then, and it was pretty small. There was only a handful of us at the moment, and I said, I'm so sick of these multiple choice. Go pay $500 or $1,000 and go sit down and take 100 questions and leave there so aggravated that this has nothing to do with anything. And I've taken a lot of them. Literally, as an instructor for years, I've taken, I don't know, most of my career was around Cisco, and I think I've taken CCNA. I don't know how many times. Literally, maybe close to 50 or more. A lot of those exams over the years, every time they change it, we were teaching, we'd always go and look and take it and make sure that we knew it, and we had the test higher and all those kind of things. And um, and it was always such a frustrating thing. So when I came over here and I told the team, I'm like, there's got to be a better way. How do we make better engineers? Better engineers don't memorize stuff. Engineers that memorize things scare me. It's engineers that are confident in the things that they know that I want around when I'm doing a change window. I don't want somebody going, BGP timer is 20 seconds. Like, well, that's great to know in the background, but we're in a change window right now. Do you know the command that we need to put in? And do you know where not to use that command?
yeah,
That's what I really want to know if you know. Um, and so we kind of set this thing out to see, can we create a scalable way to test people realistically at every level of the program? Whether you're brand new and only been doing networking for 10 minutes, level one, you're going to have to do a practical exam. We get you to log in and do some stuff because you should be able to know how to do some stuff at that level, all the way up to this. So L6 is the one that was a little bit of exception because we wanted to make sure we did design before we did, configuration, because I think that's something that's broken in the industry right now with all of our competitors and their expert programs. Is that's great. Everybody can configure ISIS, in the most ridiculous way. But does anybody know when it's a good choice and when it's a bad choice?
right.
Right. And so we set out to do that. We went through, I think we evaluated like 100 different RFPs that were actual RFPs, real requests that we've gotten from customers. We pulled all those together where it kind of makes sense, and we came up with a couple different scenarios and things like that. But it was all based on real stuff because it was really important to me to let's capture the actual process. And I've written for design stuff and other vendors, the bogus, fluffy, oh, here's a scenario, and you're just trying to test one thing. But I'm like, no, let's throw in the ugliness of what customers give us. They're all over the place. Every customer is different, and yet every solution can be similar. And I think we did a good job with that. I think it's really good, the dialogue that we have. Like, I'm not going to give away the details on what's on the exam, but I don't care if you wanted to use OSPF as your underlay or if you wanted to use BGP. That's
Yeah,
not what we're judging as right or wrong. I'm judging why.
yeah,
Why
exactly.
did you
There's
pick
no
what you
right or
picked?
wrong. It's just justification of what makes you think that's a better choice. And every
Right.
customer needs are different. You can't put that into a MCQ kind of questionnaire. it
Right.
depends on why customer wants to move towards a certain direction. Could be just if they want something simpler, or sometimes if they are more familiar with a certain protocol, then you want to stick to that because they have, after all, they are the ones who are going to run that eventually. So it's their comfort level also needs to be taken into consideration.
I think that's the mark when I became an architect. From an engineer to
Mhm.
an architect, I think that's when it was. Is there's several protocols that I can do them.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with ISIs. I mean, I've been around it most of my career. I've only rolled it out maybe twice in 30 plus years because it's not about what I know. It's
Yeah.
about, and I always said this statement, I've always used it in training. Everybody always thought it was funny is 2 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning, and I'm drunk. If I can't explain my architecture, I didn't do it right because I don't want to be the guy answering the phone when things break. Saturday at 2 o'clock in the morning, and here I am out partying and I'm drunk. Now I made this up when I was like, my late 20s. I'm too old for that now. I don't party like that now. But the idea there is it's about who is on staff.
Yeah.
And have you made it simple enough for them to troubleshoot it and still solve the problem? Or are you adding a protocol to the network so that you can add it to your resume? And that's
Right.
not good architecture. So we wanted to give people the kind of opportunity that they could do either one.
Right.
Right. But we're going to come back and that's a big grading point for L6 is, we split the design up where you get a scenario, but there's more if you ask the right questions. Just like with us, you know, how many of our customers give us everything they want us to know right away? They don't
Yeah.
even know what to give us unless we ask them the right questions, so we're grading the questions. That's really important, not just the submissions. um,
Yeah.
so what do you think about us doing that first in the order of having the design and then have the engineering? You agree with that? You like that
Yeah.
approach?
Definitely. Definitely. And the part where uh, as you said, right, we don't get all the information in the first go. So you have to really read through what exactly they are looking for. And also, there will be missing pieces which you have to request. And that finally you have the complete picture. And then you move on to going into the implementation phase.
Yeah. Now, so going in a little bit of now that you've finished it and you've looked at that, let's fast forward another 10 years, and you continue with your career the same way. You're up now, you're running PS or you're running something, or you're at a customer, any one of the customers that you serve today, and you're over there. um, do these credentials in this process, this validation that we're doing with these exams, do you think, in your opinion, and be straightforward? I mean, everybody thinks we're on the interview, we both work at Arista, you're just going to say the right thing. But seriously, if you disagree. Um, did we capture what we need to be showing people how to do out there to make them good customers for us?
Definitely, for sure. This prepares not only us as a professional services vendor, but just from the vendor side, but eventually even the customers, that they're not going to hire us every time. They want to run things on their own too. Like, this is preparing them for seeing things how a services engineer sees things. Like, okay, let's break this down into what are your requirements, what you're looking for. Let's design. Let's find out how this is better or not better, and let's just debate between the teams and figure out the best solution, which is sound by design, sound operationally, and sound in the implementation, migration, the whole thing. So they have to. It definitely helps any customer's network team to take this exam and prepare themselves for I don't know, moving to the next generation of things, and whether it's Arista or whether it's not Arista. It's quite. I like the way it is designed to be not too centric towards just one vendor. It's just preparing you for to be a good design engineer.
And it's really neat. I've done, I don't know, maybe on 12 or so of these things as I'm working through the top group and trying to get all of you on video and hear these different stories. And there's a couple of things that keep popping up on all the calls. And one I didn't think that would, and it's a really interesting story to tell. And I'm glad it's coming out that way. Is everybody is on here. We all work for Arista for the most part. All the interviews I've done so far. I mean, there are some of our instructor team that aren't necessarily Arista employees that we're going to cover some of those guys because some of those guys went through the same way that you guys did. You know, and validating it that way too, because they're in front of the room. I wanted to make sure that they believed in what we were doing and gave the feedback. And, you know, out of all the Arista guys, though, it seems to be a theme, and that is this will make you a better engineer, even if you're not using Arista. Wasn't exactly the tagline I thought was going to come out of it, but
Yeah.
it is a really neat play because we do say that we're open. We do say that we
Right.
use merchant silicon. We do say all these things. That is part of our message to the world. But really, when you get down to the brass tacks, I've been around the CCIE program for my entire career, and nobody's ever said that. I mean, there's a lot of people that will hire a CCIE even though they're not using Cisco because they see a certain caliber of engineer out of that, but they may not be assuming that they're going to get knowledge level that they need from that person based on, you know, the CCIE they took or whatever. And I love the fact that we really are focusing on just core, you know, architecture and design of protocols that are open standard and they're the mainstream. If there are a couple vendor solutions out there where you can do their proprietary way to solve some data center leaf spine type things. But if you're not going to use those one or two solutions that are still sitting out there on the shelf, then you're going to use EVPN. That is really the only other thing that's out there. And that is probably going to be one of those technologies that's just going to sit here for the next 30 years, right? Because it's simple, not in learning it, but in its execution. It's simple, it's clean, it's BGP, it's stuff we've been around. So it's going to stay. And that is essentially what we're teaching. We're not teaching Arista. We're teaching EVPN. So if you come and learn EVPN and then you go back to Juniper or Cisco or Stream or anybody else that wants to use a open approach for EVPN, you are ready. And I mean, that wasn't what we designed for, but it's really interesting that all the Arista guys are coming up saying this is good, even if you're not just using Arista. And that's, to me, I think that's an interesting story because how many are customers where we are not the only vendor in the house. And we probably will never be. You know, I mean, the other two major vendors they got 30 years on us. You know, of course, we're following them or we're going to join them, you know, in the customer landscape. And I personally think that's the next 20 years is you better know multiple vendors at a high level because we're seeing fewer and fewer customers out there just going one or the other. You know, I mean, there's still advantages, still an argument about it, but really, really interesting thing to start coming out of that is, and I like it because that's one of those things I get proud about because all I said in the beginning to my team was, how can we go create a good old school engineering program? You know, when I started my career, I had several leaders that looked at me and said, go read Radia Perlman's book and don't come back until you do. Like, we're going to go through that because that's the genius on how we're running our network for the next 5 years. You know, go read this book on BGP. Go learn this. Go see that instructor over there and learn about that protocol. So there was very key things that we had to go. I mean, I can remember some of the first jobs. You will go through all the RFCs. I want you to skim through the RFCs. I want you to be familiar with the RFCs. I want you to go through them. The ones we're using IP, you should know all the ones on IP. And that just doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't. I mean, not even to get to most of our competitors' expert programs. So I like the fact that we have kind of captured that old school mentality of, if you go through our level 3 class and you learn EVPN and then you practice it on the labs and you get proficient with it, then you can pass L7. It's not complicated. If you go through our L5 and you learn, you know, Ansible and automation, things like this, you're going to pass L7. You know, it's not tricks. We're just saying, here's the hard protocol, learn the protocol, master the protocol. And then we really don't care where you're using the protocol. So kind of interesting thing. All right, the last thing I'll kind of ask you, Aesha, is you got people watching you, scratching their head, wondering if they can follow it. I mean, you're a pretty remarkable story. You started here as an intern, went through TAC, rose up through TAC. Now you're doing PS, doing design. They're kind of thinking to themselves, well, of course you made it. What encouragement, warnings, advice, study this, whatever, without giving away the details of what's on it, what can you offer everybody else that might be watching this right now?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of material out there, and especially with Arista, you can have the VEOS lab set up. You can have it on the cloud. You can just get more hands-on experience. That always helps to learn about any vendor or any protocol or any design. Just go out there and just try it out in the lab. That's the best way to learn. Yeah, I think that's what I think somebody should do. Just
practice.
Yeah, just practice.
It's simple but direct, and I repeat this on everyone because this is one I want everybody to hear. Is there's no secret book.
Yeah.
There's no brain dump. There's no secret document that's not covered in any of the courses that we teach that you better know, or there's none of that. If you don't know the technology, levels 1 through 5, everything you need to know, there's nothing that's on the experts and not covered in those courses. Whatever level you're at, you got to start at your level appropriate and move your way up, but you can start anywhere as you want and fall into that. We do a lot of lab work. We make a lot of labs available, from the training organization. We got all kinds of other ways around the company, ways that you can go out yourself, like you're saying, and even get some code and load it on your laptop and just start practicing. And all that stuff is the same as that you're going to get. I mean, there's a few little hardware features that you can't do on your laptop or things like this, but those aren't mainstream things that most people have to worry about. So yeah, it's very easy. It's very approachable. Go get the stuff and just practice, and we're not going to teach you something that's here, there, or anywhere else. We're going to teach you EVPN right down the middle, and you learn EVPN, master EVPN. And then when we validate you, then we can come back and say, yep, you learned EVPN. That's all we're going to do. We're just going to check that. But hey, listen, it's fascinating story, fascinating getting to talk to you, Aesha, and always been a pleasure. I mean, we've done a lot of projects together over the last couple of years, and I always enjoy them. So super congratulations again. And I'm very proud to have you associated with kind of the program and being one of the first to get out there. So hold on to that. If we do like any other program, one day there's going to be 70,000 L7s, and you'll be one of those first 100 and bragging. Of course, by then they'll all say you're old. That's what happens. But congratulations on that. And thanks for everything that you do.
It's been great working with you. Thanks, Terry. I'm back.